Waitress freezes when she realizes the millionaire is her husband, who died 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Elena Parker's life shattered when the phone call came her beloved husband, James, was killed in a tragic accident. She buried him, mourned him, and spent every sleepless night wondering how she would go on without him. Now she's a struggling waitress in the bustling city of Willowdale, serving hurried patrons and hiding the pain in her eyes. But on a stormy evening, Elena glances up from her tray, and her heart stops. The new customer in a corner booth looks exactly like James, only this time he's rumored to be a mysterious millionaire, and her life is about to change forever. Elena Parker pulled the sleeves of her black uniform down over her wrists, trying to ward off the early spring chill that seeped through the diner's doors. The neon sign outside flickered Della's Diner in bright red letters, an unassuming beacon at the intersection of Willow and 3rd. It was the type of place where regulars nursed cups of coffee and tourists occasionally ambled in from the main road, drawn by the promise of homemade pie. It was never her plan to spend the rest of her life in Willowdale, especially after the heartbreak that had defined her last 7 years. Yet here she stood, greeting a small group of locals who had just come in from the rain. "Welcome to Della's," she said with a polite smile. "Is it going to be a table for 4? She led them to one of the booths near the window. In the reflection of the glass, she spotted her own pale face, rimmed by chestnut hair, twisted into a tight bun. She had once worn that hair down James's favorite style. But that was a lifetime ago. It felt safer pinned up, now contained like the rest of her emotions. "Thanks, Eleanor," said Mr. Milligan, a regular who ran the local hardware store. He nodded at her kindly. "Coffee and the usual for me. The rest of us will figure it out." She jotted down orders, managing a soft laugh. "No problem. Coming right up." In the bustle of the diner, the pain often relented for a few blessed hours. She found refuge in routine greeting customers, filling coffee cups, adding slices of lemon meringue pie to plates. The whir of the coffee machine, the hum of fluorescent lights and the clinking of silverware were the only steady constants she needed to keep her mind from drifting back to the night she lost James. She still remembered the knock on the door. She remembered the officer's face. She remembered stepping out into the cold porch light, hearing the impossible words. "We found his car at the bottom of the ravine. No survivors." It was like stepping into a nightmare from which there was no waking. Over the past few years, her mother, Margaret Parker, had begged her to consider therapy, or at least to move back home to Lansing. But Elena refused. She couldn't let go of the life she and James had started here. This was their home, the place where they'd hoped to build a future. Now, as the hustle and bustle of the evening shift wore on, Elena felt the old ache in her chest fade into the background. She cleared tables and listened to the idle chatter of patrons. For a moment, she almost forgot her grief until the diner door opened just before closing time. She glanced up from behind the counter. A tall man in a sleek dark suit stepped inside. He was dripping from the rain, and his blue eyes swept across the mostly empty diner. He removed his coat, shook out the water, and scanned the room with the guarded confidence of someone accustomed to commanding attention. There was something in the set of his jaw, the shape of his shoulders, a passing resemblance to James. It made her heart flutter in a panicked, inexplicable way. She tried to compose herself as he sat down at the far booth near a flickering overhead light. From the corner of her eye, she noticed him pull out a phone, an expensive smartphone that contrasted sharply with the modest setting. Eleanor wiped her slightly trembling hands on her apron, chalking up her sudden anxiety to working too late and not getting enough sleep. "Excuse me," she said, stepping up to him. "Welcome to Della's Diner." Can I get you started with something to drink? She braced herself, but the moment he looked up, her entire world seemed to tilt. A memory stabbed her heart. Those blue eyes, that face. It wasn't just a resemblance. It was uncanny, like staring at James's reflection after he had been gone for nearly a decade. Yes, he answered softly, eyes narrowing as though trying to place her face. Coffee black. Please. She nearly dropped her notepad. Her chest constricted. That voice, it was deeper now, steadier. But it was the voice of the man she had married all those years ago. A voice she had convinced herself she would never hear again. Her mind raced. It couldn't be. She had stood at his funeral. She had received his death certificate. She had sobbed for weeks, sure that life had ended. Yet somehow, sitting in front of her, was a man who could have been James's twin, or James himself. Numbly, she managed to tear herself away to fetch his coffee. Her head spun with questions. Who was this man? And why did he look like her lost husband, down to the faint scar on his left temple? She remembered when James had cut himself on barbed wire at a friend's farm. The scar had faded over time, but never fully disappeared. Could she be imagining it haunted by her grief? Or was there a more terrifying, impossible truth at play? She swallowed hard and handed him the coffee. Have we met before? She forced out her voice barely above a whisper. He paused, eyes drifting over her face. For a moment, confusion mingled with recognition, and the silence held a fragile tension. I don't think so, he said finally. My name's Adam Carter. But Elena wasn't convinced. Something about the way he said it so quietly, so deliberately, made her wonder if he was lying or if he was just as shocked as she was. She bowed her head, heart pounding. I'm Elena, she murmured. I'll be your waitress. The tension in the air was electric. Adam Carter, if that was his real name, breathed in, looked at her again, and gave a curt nod. As she walked away, Elena felt tears sting her eyes. Out of sight, she ducked into the back hallway, pressing a hand to her racing heart. 7 years after James's death, she had resigned herself to a grey, lonely existence. But if he were truly alive, if he had somehow survived, everything was about to change. Elena couldn't shake the trembling in her hands. She watched Adam from behind the kitchen pass through, where Della, the diner's elderly owner, was busy plating slices of cherry pie. He sipped his coffee, slowly staring out the window at the rain-soaked street. There was a heaviness to his gaze, a pensive shadow that made him look like a man waging an internal war. "Hon, you feeling okay?" asked Della, wiping her hands on a towel. She followed Elena's line of sight. "That fella giving you trouble?" "No." "I'm just tired," Elena lied, hoping her voice sounded more convincing than she felt. "I'll take him the menu." Della nodded and patted her shoulder. "We're closing soon, so see if he wants anything else. Then you can clock out early. You look like you could use some rest." Elena mustered a weak smile. Rest was the last thing on her mind. She walked over to Adam holding a laminated menu in her still shaking hand. The overhead light flickered, casting shifting shadows on the table. He looked up, studying her intently. "Here's the menu," she managed to say, placing it in front of him. "The kitchen's still open for about half an hour." He held her gaze for a long moment, his eyes reflecting curiosity and something else she couldn't quite name. Finally, he took the menu. "Thank you." "I appreciate it, Elena." Her heart lurched at the sound of her name on his lips. She glanced at the wallet in his hands. The corner of a business card peeked out, a gold logo emblazoned with the words, Carter and Associates. She'd heard rumors that a wealthy real estate investor named Adam Carter had recently moved to Willowdale, buying up property in the area. But she never connected that name to James. She forced herself to step away and serve the last few customers before closing. She tried to focus on mundane tasks, refilling ketchup bottles, wiping down tables, but her mind kept drifting back to Adam. She remembered James's final words to her before he'd driven off that fateful night. "I'll be home soon, Lena. I promise." But that promise had been broken. The officiating officer said the accident was so violent, the body was barely identifiable. She'd never seen James's remains herself. The funeral had been a closed casket ceremony. A wave of nausea swept over her at the thought that maybe, just maybe, the man in that coffin hadn't been her husband. When she finally made her way back, Adam set the menu aside. "I'll just have the burger," he said in a measured tone. "No onions, please, and a side of fries." She jotted it down, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Coming right up." As she hurried to the kitchen, she caught a glimpse of him sliding the gold-rimmed business card back into his wallet. Her pulse skittered. Could she ask him more questions without sounding insane? She prided herself on being a private person. But her curiosity, her hope, was a living thing, clawing at her rib cage. If James were alive, what reason could he possibly have for staying hidden all these years? She returned with his order, placing the plate in front of him. The silence between them felt loaded, as if they both had unspoken truths. He took a bite, swallowed, then set the burger down, watching her with an unreadable expression. "Thank you," he said politely. "You've been very kind." She gave a tight nod, trying to collect the courage to ask what she desperately wanted to know. "Miss Carter," she began, forcing a steady tone. "Have you been to Willowdale before?" He arched a brow. "Why do you ask?" She shrugged, feigning casualness. "It's a small town. New faces tend to stand out. Locals usually like to know who's passing through." There was a flicker of hesitation before he replied. "I've recently moved here from Chicago. I'm looking at a few properties. That's all." "Chicago," she echoed. James had once worked in Chicago for a short stint before they married. Could this be more than a coincidence? He nodded. "Yes. Carter and Associates has expanded some developments here. It's a new opportunity. But I like the pace of this town. It's quiet, and sometimes quiet is exactly what a man needs." A hush fell. Elena felt the world spin around her. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like an echo of her own frantic thoughts. She thought of all the nights she spent alone, all the tears she'd shed for a man she thought was dead. Could James have been in Chicago this entire time, building a new identity? She realized he was staring at her again, a faint crease between his brows. It was almost as if he recognized her too, but something held him back from acknowledging it. As he finished his meal, Eleanor went through the motions of clearing the other tables and quietly wishing the remaining customers good night. Each minute stretched like an hour. The rain continued to pound against the diner's windows, the thunder a distant rumble of approaching midnight. Finally, Adam stood, slipping a crisp bill onto the table. "Keep the change," he said, his voice gentle. "Thank you again, Elena." He pulled on his coat and stepped toward the door. She opened her mouth, half tempted to call him James, half tempted to let him walk out and preserve what was left of her sanity. But her voice caught in her throat. Before she could say anything, he turned and met her gaze one last time. "I'm sure I'll be seeing you around." With that, he strode out into the rain and disappeared. Elena sank into the nearest booth, her mind reeling. She reached for the tip he'd left her fingers brushing against a small business card tucked underneath the bill. Her heart jolted when she saw the same gold logo. Underneath it, handwritten in neat cursive, was a phone number and the name Adam Carter. She clenched her jaw. There was only one way to find out the truth. She would call that number. Because if he truly was James, she needed answers, no matter how painful they might be. The next morning, the sun broke through heavy grey clouds, painting Willowdale with a fragile glow. Eleanor barely slept. She'd spent half the night sitting at her small kitchen table, turning the business card over in her trembling hands. On the front, Carter and Associates in gold-embossed lettering. On the back, his phone number. She thought about calling him at midnight, but decided against it. She'd typed his number into her phone 3 times before deleting it. Fear swirling in her chest. What if she dialed it and it turned out to be a total stranger? Worse yet, what if he answered and it really was James? Just after sunrise, she finally mustered the courage to send a simple text. "This is Eleanor from Della's Diner. I'd like to speak with you." She didn't say more, uncertain how much to reveal. As the minutes crawled by without a response, she took a quick shower, letting the hot water pound against her tense shoulders. She tried not to replay the night she lost James, but the memories flooded in uninvited. The phone call, the funeral, the emptiness that followed. Stepping out, she toweled off her hair and checked her phone. Heart lurching when she saw a text notification. "Of course. I'll be at Riversong Park at noon. Meet me there." Her stomach twisted. Riversong Park was on the outskirts of Willowdale, a place with winding paths along the river and tall oak trees providing dappled shade. She remembered going there with James for picnics, how they would watch the water glisten in the sun. She could almost hear his laugh echoing across the grass. Elena forced herself to take measured breaths. She had to keep it together. To ground herself, she looked around her modest apartment. The walls were painted a faded cream, the furniture a mismatch of thrift shop finds. A framed photo of her and James on their wedding day hung by the doorway, capturing his playful grin and her wide-eyed joy. It was a relic of a past she thought she'd lost forever. At exactly 11:45, she headed out. The sky was a clear blue now, a stark contrast to the previous night's downpour. She parked on the gravel lot near Riversong Park's entrance and walked along the stone path leading to the riverbank. The smell of damp earth and blooming flowers hung in the air. When she spotted him, a tall figure leaning against an old oak tree, her heart hammered. The black suit was gone, replaced by jeans and a navy sweater. He looked almost casual, but there was a stiffness in his posture. As she approached, he caught her eye and pushed off the tree, stepping forward. "Eleanor," he greeted, voice tinged with uncertainty. He studied her face, the slightest furrow on his brow. "Thank you for meeting me." Her throat felt dry. Up close, the resemblance to James was even more striking. The slight curve of his nose, the strong line of his jaw, the arch of his brows. Even the faint scar was visible near his temple. For a moment she struggled to breathe. "I had to," she said at last. "I need to know who you are." He cast a glance around them. The park was mostly empty, save for a woman jogging in the distance and a couple walking their dog. I can imagine how strange this must seem," he began carefully. "When I saw you last night, I sensed that you recognized me." Elena's eyes burned with tears she refused to shed. "You look exactly like my husband," she said quietly. He died 7 years ago. He lowered his gaze to the ground, hands sliding into his pockets. I'm sorry for your loss, he said, and there was genuine sorrow in his tone. But I can't pretend to know what you've been through. She clenched her jaw, stepping closer. Stop it. You have his face, his voice. Don't tell me you can't see it. He exhaled, lifting his eyes to hers. I don't know what to tell you. I was raised in Chicago, and I've never been married. She let out a bitter laugh, tears threatening. So this is some cosmic joke. You happen to look exactly like James Parker, the man I married at Willowdale Church, the man I buried after a car accident. Do you think I'm insane? A flicker of pain crossed his features, and for a moment she thought he might crack admit the truth. But instead, he reached into his wallet and pulled out an ID. Adam Carter, it read, complete with a Chicago address. These documents say, I'm Adam Carter, he said, voice tight. I came to Willowdale for business to escape some challenges in Chicago. I don't have an explanation for why I resemble your husband. But I'm not him. Elena stared at the ID, her mind whirling. Her entire being screamed that this man was James, no matter what any piece of plastic said. She forced herself to think logically. If he truly was James, could he have forged new identities? But why? Why leave her to mourn alone? It's not possible, she whispered, a sob catching in her throat. I watched them bury an empty casket. Then... He hesitated, eyes flicking to the river's edge. The breeze ruffled the leaves overhead. Maybe there's a simpler explanation, he offered gently. Sometimes people see resemblances in total strangers. Traumatic events? No, she interjected sharply. This isn't just a passing resemblance. You have the scar, the same expression. Don't tell me I'm hallucinating. Her voice shook with desperation. Silence stretched between them. A single bird chirped somewhere nearby. Eleanor wiped a stray tear from her cheek, and Adam or James shifted his weight. He seemed torn between comforting her and maintaining his distance. At length he took a step forward. Look, he said softly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause you any pain. If this is too difficult for you, I can leave Willowdale. I only came here on business, but I don't want to harm anyone. Her heart twisted. The thought of him leaving again, vanishing without a trace, was unbearable. She wanted to cling to the possibility that James was alive, that they might somehow reconcile. Yet everything about this situation was surreal, like stepping into a dream she couldn't wake from. Elena swallowed hard. No, she said, finally. Don't leave. I need to figure this out. He offered a quiet nod. Then let's try to figure it out together, he said gently. I'll be in town for a while. If you need anything. Questions answered, call me. We'll talk. With that, he took one last long look at her, then turned to walk away, leaving Elena standing by the rushing river. She realized she was gripping her phone so tightly, her knuckles were white. As his figure disappeared under the canopy of trees, she felt a flicker of determination spark within her. No matter what Adam Carter claimed she knew in her bones, he was James, and she would uncover the truth, even if it meant confronting a secret more dangerous than she could imagine. Elena paced her small living room phone pressed to her ear, waiting for her call to connect to the one man she hoped could shed some light on this mystery detective Marcus Williams. He had been the lead investigator on James's accident case all those years ago. In the aftermath, he had shown genuine kindness, helping her navigate the endless paperwork and questioning the loose ends that never quite fit. If anyone could help her now, it was him. After a few rings, a groggy voice answered. Williams speaking. "It's Eleanor Parker," she said hastily, hoping he still remembered her. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I need your help." He paused. "Elena." "Of course, I remember you. Are you all right?" Her eyes darted to the window. The memory of Adam's face haunted her thoughts. "I'm not sure. I need to revisit James's accident case. Could we meet?" His tone sharpened. "This is about your late husband. Elena, is something going on?" She took a breath, trying to steady her voice. "Yes. Something big. Please, can we talk? It's important." "Sure," he sighed. "I'm retired from the force now, but I still consult. Let me find a time." They arranged to meet later in the day at his new office in the basement of his home. It was a short drive from Willowdale, in a quiet suburb where he did freelance private investigations. After hanging up, Elena grabbed her coat and headed out. The roads stretched through rolling farmland, the air smelling of fresh grass and rain. Her mind churned with possibilities. Had James been an innocent victim of mistaken identity, or was there a darker secret? No matter the reason, she deserved answers. When she arrived, Marcus greeted her with a grave but kind expression. His hair had grown grayer since she last saw him, and laugh lines creased the corners of his eyes. "Come in," he said, gesturing to the small office with a cluttered desk and filing cabinets. He offered her a seat in a worn armchair. "You look stressed, Elena. What's going on?" She inhaled, then forced the words out. James might still be alive. He stared, taken aback. "What do you mean?" She quickly recounted her recent encounters with Adam Carter, how he looked exactly like James, how he had the same scar, the same voice. She showed Marcus a screenshot of the business card with Adam's name. He listened intently occasionally, glancing at his notes from the old case file. "I remember the accident well," he said grimly. "James's car was found in that ravine. We never suspected foul play, but we also couldn't do a thorough identification, because the coroner's report said the remains were badly burned. We relied mostly on the car's registration and some personal effects." Elena closed her eyes. She recalled how the coroner's office had returned James's watch, charred but still distinct. She never wore it, but she kept it in a small box as a memento. Now she wondered if it really belonged to him or someone else entirely. Marcus tapped a pen against the desk, frowning. "There was something that bothered me back then. A witness said they saw another vehicle near the accident site, but we never identified it. It seemed like a dead end. After you buried James, the case was closed." She leaned forward, adrenaline surging. Could James have been taken from the scene or left on his own accord? Marcus shrugged. "I can't say for sure. People do fake their deaths, but it's not common. There would have to be a strong motive like escaping debt or danger. But James never seemed like the type." Elena glanced at a framed photo on Marcus's desk, a smiling woman and 2 children. "If it's true, if he's alive, what should I do? I can't just confront him without proof. He insists he's Adam Carter." Marcus sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Maybe he's telling the truth that he's not James, or maybe he's lying. We need more. I'll dig into Adam Carter's background, see if the details check out." A flicker of relief warmed her chest. "Thank you." He rummaged through a filing cabinet, pulling out the old Parker case file. The documents were yellowed with age. He flipped through them, scanning the limited forensic evidence and official statements. There's not much to go on, but I'll do my best. I still have a few friends on the force who might help. Elena nodded. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it. He gave a small smile. Take care, Elena. This can't be easy for you. She stood, a flood of gratitude and anxiety coursing through her. Just let me know what you find. I can't keep living like this. As she drove back into Willowdale, she replayed her conversation with Marcus. He had always been a thorough detective. If there was a clue that pointed to James's survival or Adam Carter's true identity, he would find it. But part of her feared what the truth might reveal. If James had truly faked his death, it meant their entire marriage and her years of grieving had been based on a devastating lie. Could she forgive him? Could she even understand why he would do such a thing? She pulled into her apartment's parking lot, the weight of her emotions threatening to crush her. A message flashed on her phone, snapping her attention. Adam Carter. Can we talk tonight? Her stomach flipped. Yes, she wanted answers, but she wasn't sure she was ready for them. Still, she texted back, her fingers trembling. Sure. Where a pause. Then his response. Meet me at the old Willowbridge Hotel. PM. She stared at the phone, recalling the Willowbridge Hotel's grandeur, a place on the outskirts of town that had recently reopened under new management. She'd heard rumors that a wealthy investor bought it at a steep discount. Now she knew who that investor might be. The clock ticked toward a confrontation she both dreaded and craved. Tonight, she would see Adam again. One thing was certain, her life was about to take another, irrevocable turn. At precisely 8 p.m., Elena pulled up to the Willowbridge Hotel, a once majestic structure built in the early 1900s, complete with a grand courtyard and ornate pillars. It had fallen into disrepair over the decades, but new lights shone through tall windows, suggesting the renovations were well underway. She parked beneath a flickering street lamp and made her way to the entrance. Her heart pounded with each step. Part of her wanted to turn around, run away, and forget this impossible situation. But the stronger part of her, fueled by curiosity and unresolved longing, propelled her forward. The lobby smelled of fresh paint and polish. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and workers in overalls bustled about carrying tools. Near the reception desk stood Adam, wearing a tailored grey suit and conferring with a foreman about some final touches. He turned when he saw her, dismissing the worker with a nod. Eleanor. He greeted, a cautious smile tugging at his lips. Thank you for coming. She regarded him warily. I wasn't sure if I should. He gestured around them. I thought you'd prefer a quiet place away from prying eyes. The renovations here are nearly complete, and the hotel won't open to the public for another month. She scanned the opulent surroundings, her anxiety mounting. So you're the one who bought this place? He gave a slight shrug. Yes. Among other properties? My company specializes in restoring historical sites. She followed him down a corridor lined with dusty drapes and scaffolding. At the far end, he opened a door leading into what appeared to be a library lounge. Bookshelves lined the walls, and a fireplace crackled with newly lit flames. The ambiance was surprisingly warm for a place under renovation. He gestured for her to sit on one of the velvet chairs near the fire. She perched on the edge, trying not to let the flickering light unnerve her. The golden glow illuminated Adam's face, deepening the shadows across his features. He took a seat across from her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. I wanted to talk more openly, he began. I can tell you're in distress, and I want to help. She clasped her hands together in her lap. You keep saying you want to help, but you also claim you're not James Parker. That's the only way you can help me. Tell me the truth." A flicker of conflict crossed his eyes. He looked away as if choosing his words carefully. "I am telling you the truth," he said finally, though the hesitation in his voice was unmistakable. "I'm Adam Carter. That's who I've always been." Her frustration swelled. "Then how do you explain the scar, the voice, the fact that you look identical to my dead husband? Do you think it's some cosmic coincidence?" He swallowed hard. "I can't explain it. Perhaps James was a distant relative. I don't know my father's side of the family well. My mother raised me alone. She never spoke of relatives outside Chicago." Elena blinked, the possibility swirling in her mind. Could James and Adam share distant ancestry that accounted for their eerie resemblance? She mulled it over, but her gut still screamed that there was more to the story. She rose from her seat, stepping closer to the fire. "You say your mother never mentioned your father's family. Fine. But can you prove your identity goes back further than 7 years? Do you have any photos from your childhood? Any school records?" Something akin to alarm flickered in his gaze, but it was gone in an instant. "Of course I do," he replied evenly. "They're in Chicago, but I can try to get them here." She crossed her arms, staring into the dancing flames. "I'm sorry if this offends you, Adam, but until I see proof, I won't believe you aren't James." A heavy silence descended. She turned to face him. There was a haunted look in his eyes, a weight pressing down on him that felt painfully familiar. He might have all the wealth in the world, but he carried secrets that money couldn't mask. Her throat constricted. "Why are you here in Willowdale? Really? Don't tell me it's just business." He lowered his gaze. "I needed a fresh start. Chicago became complicated. I wanted a quiet place to invest in a chance to build something new." The answer didn't satisfy her. Anger simmered in her chest, mingling with heartbreak. "James told me we'd build something new too," she said, voice trembling. "We dreamed of opening a small bed and breakfast or something similar. He was so full of hope. Until that night." Adam's eyes flicked to her tear-filled gaze, and he seemed genuinely pained. "I'm sorry," he murmured, stepping closer. "I wish I could bring you peace. I really do." The closeness triggered a surge of longing in her veins. A memory flashed James kissing her gently in their kitchen, the warm smell of coffee in the air, laughter echoing in the morning light. She resisted the impulse to reach out and touch Adam's hand. She exhaled shakily. "Tell me this," she began. "If you really are a different man, why do I see that same flicker of recognition in your eyes every time we meet?" His jaw tightened, and for a moment his carefully maintained composure slipped. Maybe I see something familiar in you," he admitted in a low voice. "Something I can't explain." Her heart jolted. That was almost an admission, but still he gave her no definitive answer. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, startling them both. She checked the screen. Marcus Williams. A jolt of urgency coursed through her. "Excuse me," she muttered, stepping away to answer. Elena came Marcus's voice. "I did some digging. I checked the public records for Adam Carter. He has a paper trail, but it starts only about 6 years ago. There's nothing before that. No birth certificate, no school records, no social security until that time." Her pulse raced. "So he could have created a fake identity," Marcus lowered his voice. "Could be. I'll keep looking. But I thought you should know." She hung up, heart pounding. 6 years. right after James's supposed death. She turned to find Adam watching her wary. She pocketed her phone. "You want me to believe you're who you say you are, but your records only go back 6 years," she said, voice trembling with rage and sorrow. "No birth certificate, no record of you existing before then." He flinched, taking a step back. The tension in the air crackled heavy with unspoken truths. "I can explain," he started, but she didn't let him finish. Then explain, she demanded, tears brimming. "Because if you are James, you let me think you were dead. You destroyed my life." Why, Adam opened his mouth, but no words came. He seemed torn by an internal battle guilt, shadowing his features. In that charged moment, Eleanor realized 2 things. He was hiding something monumental, and he was hurting almost as much as she was. But she refused to be swayed by his silent plea for understanding. She wiped away tears. "If you can't tell me the truth now, then I'll find it myself," she said, voice shaking. "You won't get away with this." With that, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the library lounge, leaving him standing there looking stricken. Her footsteps echoed through the empty corridor. As she fled into the night, a tumult of emotions churned inside her: anger, betrayal, longing, and an unshakable sense that she was hurtling toward a revelation more shocking than she could fathom. Elena's dreams that night were a tumult of painful memories and jumbled visions. She saw James, standing on the edge of a ravine, calling out to her. She tried to run to him, but invisible hands pulled her back. Then Adam appeared, pleading for her to believe him, his face shifting into James's and back again. She woke at dawn, tangled in sweat-soaked sheets, her heart pounding. Determined not to drown in her nightmares, she pushed herself out of bed, got dressed, and headed to the local library. If she wanted to unearth the truth, she needed every resource available. Willowdale's library was a stone building with ivy crawling up its walls, a quiet haven that smelled of old books. Eleanor found an isolated table among the shelves. She booted up her laptop and connected to the library's Wi-Fi, preparing for a deep dive. First, she searched Adam Carter and Associates, Chicago. She skimmed news articles and press releases noting references to real estate deals roughly within the last 6 years. But every mention seemed carefully curated, as though someone had meticulously crafted a backstory. There were no stories, no childhood anecdotes, no interviews from earlier than that. Next, she searched James Parker Willowdale accident. Various local newspaper articles popped up. She'd read them all before local man dies. In tragic accident, wife mourns beloved husband. One article by a reporter named Sarah Jenkins had covered the story more thoroughly. Sarah had written about the possibility of a second vehicle that night, though the investigation never confirmed it. Eleanor jotted down Sarah Jenkins's name. Perhaps the reporter had details that never made it into the final article. Maybe she could find her. After some digging, Eleanor discovered Sarah now worked at a small newspaper in Lansing. That was only an hour's drive away. Without hesitation, Eleanor grabbed her bag and marched out of the library. She drove straight to Lansing, her mind spinning with possibilities. The highway stretched on, dotted with farmland and occasional billboards. She couldn't shake the image of Adam's tortured expression at the hotel, nor the heartbreak of her last memories with James. By late morning, she pulled up in front of the Lansing Chronicle's modest office. The receptionist directed her upstairs to Sarah Jenkins' desk. Sarah was a short woman with curly dark hair, wearing glasses perched on her nose. She glanced up when Elena arrived, confusion mingling with curiosity in her eyes. "Sarah Jenkins?" Elena asked, voice tentative. "You wrote about my husband's accident 7 years ago." James Parker. Recognition dawned on Sarah's face. She stood, offering a cautious smile. Eleanor Parker. I remember you. You came to me after the funeral asking if I had any more information about the investigation. Elena nodded. I did. And I'm here again because I think James might still be alive. Sarah's eyes widened. She gestured for Elena to sit in a nearby chair. That's a serious claim. Tell me everything. Eleanor recounted her encounters with Adam Carter, the suspiciously short timeline of his existence, and her conversation with Detective Marcus Williams. Sarah scribbled notes, her brow furrowed with concentration. You know, Sarah said carefully, back when I was researching the accident, I reached out to James's employer. He worked at a freight company in Chicago for a while, right? They were cagey, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Just corporate reticence. But if James was involved with something, illegal or dangerous, it might explain a staged death. Elena's breath caught. Illegal James was a decent man. He would never, Sarah held up a hand. I'm not saying he was a criminal, but maybe he stumbled onto something. People sometimes go into hiding for reasons they can't share, even with loved ones. Elena tried to process this. Could James have been threatened? Was that why he vanished? The mere thought made her ache with a painful mix of longing and betrayal. If he was protecting her, why not trust her with the truth? Sarah continued. After the accident, I tried to follow up on that second vehicle sighting. Witness reports indicated a black SUV speeding away. I never found who owned it. The police said it was probably unrelated. Elena leaned forward. But you're not convinced. Not entirely, Sarah admitted. I've seen too many cover-ups in my line of work. And Willowdale's department back then wasn't as thorough as they should have been. Elena sat back, pulse racing. Do you have any leads I could follow up on? Now. Sarah flipped through a file on her desk, pulling out a worn notepad. One name came up during my research, Robert Miller. He was a private investigator who worked on a missing persons case around the same time. I believe he found something connecting that case and your husband's accident, but I never got confirmation. He was elusive. If you can track him down, maybe he'll share what he knows. Elena nodded, taking down the name. Thank you. I'll try to find him. Sarah studied her sympathetically. I can run a piece on this, get the public's attention. Maybe rattle some cages, but it could also backfire if Adam Carter is well connected. Investigations might shut down quickly. Elena swallowed hard. Let me see what I can learn first. I don't want to put you in danger or blow this open prematurely. They exchanged contact information. Sarah promised to help, and Elena headed back to her car, mind reeling. She plugged Robert Miller's name into her phone, searching for clues. There was a listing for a Robert Miller Investigations in Lansing, but the phone number was disconnected. Another lead suggested he'd moved to a small town an hour west of Lansing, near the state border. Time felt like an enemy pressing Elena onward. She decided to try that address, feeling a shaky resolve grip her. If James was truly alive, and if his disappearance involved dangerous undercurrents, she needed to act quickly. She gunned the engine, determined to chase every lead until she found answers. The tension in her chest was a mix of dread and hope. She remembered the day James proposed to her, on a hill overlooking Willowdale. How the sun caught the gold band he slipped onto her finger. That memory fueled her determination. She deserved the truth, no matter how painful. Halfway there, her phone buzzed with a text. Adam Carter. Please meet me tonight. I need to talk. It's important. She turned off the phone, ignoring the surge of conflicting emotions. Adam James, whoever he was, could wait. She had her own investigation now, and if he was hiding something dangerous, she would unearth it one way or another. Elena followed the trail to a run-down motel near the state border, an hour west of Lansing. The neon vacancy sign blinked erratically, casting eerie shadows across the parking lot. Rumor had it Robert Miller rented a room here while working on an extended case. When she approached the shabby door labeled number 12, her pulse hammered. She knocked, uncertain what to expect. After a few moments, the door cracked open, revealing a lanky man in his 50s with thinning hair and weary eyes. He wore a rumpled shirt and looked at Elena with suspicion. "Robert Miller?" she asked, forcing confidence into her tone. "I need your help." He studied her warily. "Who's asking, Elena Parker?" She bit her lip. "I was told you investigated a missing persons case around the same time my husband, James Parker, died. Please, I just need information." He hesitated, then sighed and stepped aside. "Fine. Come in." Inside the room smelled of stale coffee and cigarette smoke. A stack of newspapers and open files littered a small table. He gestured for her to sit on a worn armchair while he perched on the edge of the bed. So he said, lighting a cigarette and inhaling, "What's this about your husband's accident?" She explained everything from the suspicious circumstances surrounding the crash to her recent encounters with Adam Carter. Robert's expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. He flicked ash into a makeshift tray. "I remember that time," he said. "I was looking for a missing woman, Jennifer Reed, disappeared under strange circumstances. Her fiancé claimed she ran off, but her sister was convinced she was taken. During my search, I picked up rumors of a bigger operation, something involving stolen identities and forced disappearances." A chill ran down Elena's spine. Forced disappearances. Robert nodded grimly. "Human trafficking, witness protection, or corporate espionage, take your pick. I never got to the bottom of it. The people I tried to talk to clammed up or vanished themselves. Then Jennifer's body turned up in a river, and the cops closed the case as a suicide. I never believed it." He rummaged through a stack of papers, pulling out a manila folder. "I have some unconfirmed notes about a secret network that helps people disappear when they're in danger, or sometimes for a hefty price if they want to vanish." James Parker's name might have come up in passing. "Let me check." Elena's breath caught as he flipped through pages of scrawled notes, newspaper clippings, and grainy photos. Finally, he paused. "Here." He pointed to a line of text, JP Corporate Threat Chicago link. Possibly forced cover-up. Her heart raced. Corporate threat. James used to mention something about suspicious shipments at his freight company. He said it was probably nothing. Could he have stumbled onto something illegal and ended up in danger? Robert rubbed his jaw. If so, maybe he turned to these people to help him fake his death. Or they forced him to do it, so he'd keep his mouth shut. The weight of that possibility crushed Elena. If James had been threatened, if he'd gone into hiding to protect her. She shuddered, remembering how Adam insisted he didn't want to hurt her. Maybe that was because he truly was James living under a new identity. But then, why not tell her the truth now? Robert cleared his throat. Thing is, these networks aren't exactly standard witness protection programs. They're run by criminals, or at least folks who have powerful connections. If James was in too deep, they might still be watching him. Elena's mind whirled. So if he is James and I keep pressing, we might both be in danger, Robert shrugged. Possibly. Doesn't mean you should stop. But watch your back. A surge of determination gripped her. She couldn't walk away no matter the risk. She needed closure. What else can you tell me? He leaned back, flicking ash off his cigarette. I've heard rumors that the Chicago-based Friedman Corporation is involved. Freight shipping real estate. They dabble in everything. If James's old company had ties to Friedman, that might be your link. Elena pressed a hand to her forehead, remembering James's late nights in the office, the stress he never fully explained. Friedman Corporation? That name sounds vaguely familiar. Robert nodded. They've quietly purchased land around Willowdale, too. You said Adam Carter invests in real estate. Could be they're in bed together, or maybe he's trying to take them down from the inside. The puzzle pieces began to fit. So Adam might have re-emerged here to face Friedman Corporation, or to continue working with them. Robert gave her a pitying look. I can't say for sure, Miss Parker, but I have a hunch that if you keep digging, Friedman's name will pop up again. Elena swallowed hard. Thank you, Robert. This is more than I've had in 7 years. He extinguished his cigarette and stood. Just be careful. If James is alive, he might be in deeper trouble than you know. They exchanged contact information, and Elena left the motel, her head spinning with a storm of revelations. If James had faked his death because of corporate corruption or a threat to his life, it meant he was a pawn in a larger game. Friedman Corporation could be the key to unlocking his secret. As she drove back to Willowdale, her phone vibrated again. Adam's text glowed on the screen. Please, I have to tell you something. Meet me at Riverbend Cafe tomorrow morning. She gripped the wheel, uncertain if she should trust him. Yet everything pointed to him being James, or at least entangled in James's fate. If Friedman was involved, maybe Adam's life was also at stake. She typed a single word in reply. Okay. Her heart thundered as she hit send. She had no idea what she was walking into, but she couldn't turn back now. Answers hovered just out of reach, and she was determined to grab them no matter the danger. Riverbend Cafe was a quaint spot nestled along the banks of the Willow River, known for its homemade pastries and scenic outdoor seating. Eleanor arrived early the next morning, the sky brushed with pale pink as the sun rose over the water. Anxiety coiled in her stomach. Despite everything she needed to see, Adam needed to confront him with the truths she'd uncovered. He arrived a few minutes after her, wearing a casual button-down shirt and dark jeans. His expression was a mix of tension and relief when he spotted her at a table by the large window. She'd chosen an isolated corner where they could speak freely. Elena, he said softly, sliding into the chair across from her. Thank you for coming. She sipped her coffee, locking eyes with him. I found some information about Friedman Corporation, about possible criminal networks that help people vanish. Care to explain? His breath caught, and a flicker of fear darted across his gaze. You've been digging, haven't you? Yes. And I'm tired of the lies, she said, her voice trembling with both anger and desperation. I know your records only go back 6 years. I know Friedman Corporation is expanding into Willowdale, and I know James might have discovered something illegal at his freight company. Adam stared into his coffee cup, jaw tight. Slowly he set the cup aside. I never wanted you involved in this, he muttered. You have no idea how dangerous these people can be. Her heart hammered. So you admit it. You're James. He inhaled sharply, as though bracing himself for a wave of guilt. Yes, he whispered. My name was James Parker. But that man died 7 years ago, for good reason. Elena's eyes flooded with tears she barely managed to hold back. The world blurred as she reached across the table, grabbing his hand. It felt so warm, so real. Why, she choked out. "Why did you do this to me?" He squeezed her hand. Anguish etched into his features. "I'm sorry, Elena. I'm so sorry. You were never supposed to be hurt like this." She pulled her hand away, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "I buried an empty coffin. I grieved you. I tried to rebuild my life. And now I find out you've been alive all along." His own eyes glistened. "I was in danger, and so were you. Friedman Corporation was smuggling illegal cargo drugs. Weapons, who knows what else, through the freight company where I worked. I discovered the paperwork, the shipments that didn't add up. I confronted my boss. He tried to silence me." Elena's throat tightened. "So you staged your death. To protect me?" He nodded. "I received anonymous threats. Our phone was tapped. I wanted to go to the police, but Friedman has allies everywhere. Then one night a man approached me. He said he represented a group that could help me vanish. It was the only way I could keep you safe." She let out a shuddering breath, anger warring with heartbreak. "Safe from what? You left me alone. James, I had no idea if you were murdered, if it was an accident, if someone would come after me too." I was terrified. Tears slipped down his cheeks, something she'd rarely seen, even in their married life. I thought it was the only option. They made me promise no contact with my past. They arranged the car accident, planting a body. Everything was handled so Friedman believed I was dead. Then I took on a new identity. Adam Carter. Elena's mind reeled. She recalled the funeral, the unanswered questions. "Couldn't you have told me?" "Let me go into hiding with you." He rubbed his temples. "They warned me that bringing you along would put you in even greater danger. Friedman would never stop hunting both of us if they knew I'd survived. I believed them. Maybe I was a coward. I couldn't bear the thought of dragging you into that life on the run." She swallowed hard, staring at him in disbelief. "So you left me with no explanation?" He closed his eyes, pain twisting his features. "And every day I regretted it. But it was done, and I had to live with it. I tried to keep track of you from afar. I knew you were working at Della's diner, that you never remarried." His voice broke. "I'm so sorry, Elena." A swirl of conflicting emotions overwhelmed her: betrayal, relief, fury, longing. She remembered the sleepless nights, the nightmares, the therapy sessions her mother urged her to attend, all because he thought secrecy would protect her. She wanted to scream at him, to kiss him, to weep into his arms. Instead, she asked, "Why come back to Willowdale now?" He raked a hand through his hair. "I have proof that can bring Friedman down." Over the years, I gathered evidence of their smuggling and corruption. I'm close to exposing them. And this hotel project was an opportunity to get inside their network. Friedman invests in real estate, so I used my new identity as a legitimate cover to meet them on equal footing. She stared, trying to absorb the enormity of it all. "You're risking everything." "Why?" He met her gaze, and she saw the flicker of James's familiar warmth and determination. "Because I can't run forever, and I can't keep lying to you. Friedman is making moves in Willowdale, and I can't stand by while they destroy more lives. I want to bring them to justice." A tear rolled down Elena's cheek. She reached out again this time, placing her hand gently on his. "You broke me, James, but I still love you." Her voice trembled. "I hate myself for it." But I do. He gripped her hand, silent tears slipping down his cheeks. I never stopped loving you, Eleanor. You were the only bright spot in my life. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm here, willing to face whatever comes. She took a shaky breath, feeling a strange mix of relief and terror. Friedman, could they still hurt us? He nodded solemnly. Yes, that's why I've been watching you carefully. I think Friedman suspects I'm alive and that I might contact you. We need to act carefully, or we'll both be in danger. The cafe buzzed quietly around them, oblivious to the drama unfolding at their small table. Eleanor felt like her world had narrowed to just the two of them, old wounds laid bare. The revelations were overwhelming, but she knew one thing for sure: they had to stand together now. All right, she said, voice steadier than she felt. We'll bring them down. We'll finish what you started. He placed a trembling hand against her cheek, wiping away a tear. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you, Lena. She closed her eyes at the sound of his old nickname for her. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel the warmth of his touch, the familiarity of his presence. But danger loomed, and they had no idea how high the stakes would rise. They decided to lay low while formulating a plan. James, she couldn't call him Adam anymore, booked a private meeting room at the newly renovated Willowbridge Hotel, away from prying eyes. Elena felt a twist of nerves as she passed through the polished corridors, memories of their heated argument swirling. Inside, she found James hunched over a table covered in documents, a laptop open, and a large manila folder labeled Friedman Corporation. Detective Marcus Williams was there too, shifting uncomfortably. Evidently, James had decided to bring him into the loop, trusting his old ties to law enforcement. Marcus looked up when Elena entered, relief washing over his face. Glad you're here. I'm still trying to process that James is alive. Elena gave him a tight smile. Trust me, I am too. She turned to James. Did you tell him everything? James nodded. Yes, as much as needed. Marcus has connections that might help us. We just have to be certain we have enough evidence to convince the right people. Marcus cleared his throat, scanning the files. Friedman Corporation is bigger than I realized. They've got puppet companies everywhere funneling money through real estate, shipping, and private investments. If you have proof of smuggling, you need federal backing to take them down. James clicked on a file, revealing spreadsheets of shipments, bank transfers, and code names. These are encrypted files I stole before I died. For years I've been adding to them, with intel from Friedman's affiliates. If we can get these to the feds, we can start an investigation that Friedman won't be able to stop. Elena stepped closer, heart pounding. Let's go to the FBI. Isn't that the obvious choice? Marcus exchanged a look with James. It's not that simple. Friedman's got people on the inside, federal agents on their payroll, politicians in their pockets. We have to find someone we can trust or risk tipping Friedman off. She slumped into a chair, anxiety gnawing at her. So what do we do? James ran a hand through his hair. We need to gather more solid evidence from Friedman's local operations, the real estate deals here in Willowdale. I have a meeting tomorrow with Friedman's regional manager, Hugh Bradley, under my Adam Carter persona. If I can get him to slip up or show his hand, we'll have enough for an airtight case. Elena looked between them, fear swirling. But that puts you right in Friedman's crosshairs. They could kill us if we're discovered. James's jaw hardened. I won't let that happen. I've been careful. They suspect Adam Carter might be more than he seems, but they don't know I'm James Parker, and I have a security detail ready in case something goes wrong. Marcus eyed him. Just be careful. We might only have one shot. A beat of silence, past tension thick in the room. Elena rose, placing her hand on James's shoulder. Whatever happens, I'm with you. He laced his fingers with hers, and for a moment they found solace in that simple gesture. Then they returned to the business at hand, ironing out details. Marcus would monitor the meeting from a discreet location, ready to call in local allies if needed. Elena would stay away from Friedman's men, ensuring she wasn't used as leverage. Later that evening, after Marcus left, James walked Elena to her car, under the dim glow of the parking lot lights. He paused near the curb, taking her hands in his. She felt the warmth of his skin and fought back tears of overwhelming emotion. "I never wanted any of this," he said, voice thick with regret. "All I dreamed of was a simple life with you. The white picket fence may be kids one day." She let out a shaky breath, tears gathering in her eyes. "We can still dream. Once Friedman is gone, maybe we can rebuild." He pressed his forehead to hers, voice trembling. "I hope so." They stood like that for a moment, the gravity of the danger pressing in from all sides. Finally, she pulled back, her voice trembling with hope. "Be safe tomorrow. Promise me." He brushed a kiss against her forehead, a feather-light touch. "I promise." As she drove away, a tangle of emotions churned in her heart. Fear for his safety, anger at the years lost, and a quiet, budding sense of love resurrected from the ashes. She couldn't bear to lose James again. Tomorrow's meeting could be their best chance to end this nightmare, or the beginning of a new one if Friedman discovered the truth. The next morning dawned grey and tense. Thick clouds hovered low, mirroring Eleanor's anxious mood. James had arranged to meet Hugh Bradley at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Willowdale. One Friedman Corporation had recently acquired supposedly for storage. Marcus would be stationed nearby, ready to alert his trusted contacts if anything suspicious happened. Elena stayed behind at a coffee shop near the police station, her phone gripped tightly in her hand. She sipped tea she could barely taste, every nerve on edge. Time crawled. She stared at the clock on the wall, each minute a needle of dread pricking her heart. She had wanted to be there with James, but he insisted it was too risky. Finally, her phone buzzed. A text from James. "All set. Starting now." She exhaled, sending a quick reply. "Be careful. I love you." No response came. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, James, dressed in a sleek grey suit, stepped out of his car. The old gravel crunching underfoot. The warehouse loomed ahead, an imposing structure with rusting metal doors. He walked inside, the stale smell of dust and disuse permeating the air. Hugh Bradley stood beneath a flickering overhead light, flanked by two imposing men in dark suits. Bradley was tall, silver-haired, and exuded the confidence of someone used to intimidation. He extended a hand, a wolfish smile on his lips. Adam Carter Bradley greeted, emphasizing the name. "Pleasure to see you again. I understand you're interested in expanding your investment here." James shook his hand, hiding his tension behind a polite smile. "Yes. Friedman's expansions are promising. I'm ready to talk numbers." Bradley ushered him to a makeshift table where documents lay spread out. The goons in suits positioned themselves behind Bradley, watching James with hawk-like eyes. The air thrummed with tension. Bradley pointed to various property listings, referencing shipments and timelines. James feigned interest, occasionally dropping hints about lucrative cargo and discreet transport. He wanted Bradley to slip to admit Friedman's illegal operations. Bradley's smile tightened. "We do handle specialized goods, Mr. Carter. Discretion is our specialty. But your real estate proposals must meet our standards. James leaned forward. Oh, I'm well aware. I'm prepared to offer Friedman Corporation a partnership that benefits both parties, especially if we share certain confidences. A flicker of suspicion crossed Bradley's face. You're quite direct. Just doing my due diligence, James replied smoothly. If Friedman is shipping contraband or sensitive materials, I'd like to ensure no legal entanglements arise for my side. It's all about risk management. Bradley's eyes gleamed. Precisely. We're quite skilled at avoiding those entanglements. James's heart pounded. It was almost too easy. He pressed further, subtly recording the conversation with a hidden device in his breast pocket. But Bradley wasn't a fool. He sensed something off. He motioned to one of his men who stepped forward. Mr. Carter. Mind if we pat you down? The goon asked. Standard security procedure. James stiffened. If they found the recorder, it was all over. He forced a casual laugh. Is that really necessary? Bradley's smile vanished, replaced by cold steel. Yes. We don't like surprises. James raised his hands, feigning compliance. But as the goon patted him, his fingertips brushed the concealed device. Everything froze. Outside the warehouse, Marcus crouched behind a stack of crates near the loading bay earbud in place. He'd rigged James with a transmitting device. Static crackled, then faint voices came through. He heard Bradley's men talking about a pat-down. Marcus' tensed hand hovering over his phone. If they discovered the wire, James was in immediate danger. He quickly texted his fellow retired detective, Michael Johnson, who was positioned in a car a few blocks away, with 2 off-duty cops they trusted. Might need backup standby. Inside the warehouse, the goon's fingers closed around the small recording device. He pulled it free, eyes flashing. He's wired, he barked. Bradley's face twisted in fury. Who are you really? James's heart thundered. He had to act fast. It's not what it looks like, he began, but Bradley's other henchman pinned his arms from behind. You think we're fools? Bradley hissed. You're fishing for evidence. Are you a cop? James clenched his jaw. No, I'm not a cop. I just want to protect my investments. The man gripping him sneered. Then why the wire? Bradley pulled a gun from inside his jacket, aiming it at James's chest. The cold metal glinted in the dim light. Who sent you? Tell me, or your blood stains this floor. James's mind raced. He had to stall. All right. Let's talk. There's no need for violence. Bradley's gun pressed harder against James's sternum. Start talking, or you'll be meeting your maker. In the coffee shop, Elena's phone rang. Marcus. Her stomach lurched. She answered, voice shaking. Marcus? He spoke in a rushed whisper. They found the wire, Elena. James is in trouble. We're moving in. Terror seized her. I'm coming. Stay put. But she'd already hung up, adrenaline fueling her as she bolted to her car. She wouldn't lose James again. At the warehouse, as Bradley's men pressed James against a steel beam, searching for more devices, Marcus and his small team burst in through a side entrance. Shots rang out, echoing against concrete walls. Bradley's henchmen returned fire, cursing. James ducked behind a crate, adrenaline surging. He grabbed a metal rod lying nearby, bashing one armed thug before ducking away from gunfire. Marcus and his allies spread out, shouting commands. Amid the chaos, Bradley tried to slip out a back door. James sprinted after him, heart hammering. He couldn't let Friedman's man vanish with all the secrets. They dashed into a dimly lit hallway, footsteps echoing. Bradley whirled, gun-raised desperation twisting his features. "Stay back or I'll shoot," he snarled. James raised his hands, stepping carefully. "We both know you won't get far. The cops are coming." Bradley's eyes darted wildly. He fired a shot, missing James by inches. James dived behind a large metal cabinet. Another gunshot ricocheted, sending sparks flying. Suddenly, a shout echoed from behind them. Elena stood at the entrance face, pale with terror. "James." Her appearance startled Bradley. He pivoted, aiming the gun at her instead. James's heart seized. Without hesitation, he lunged, tackling Bradley just as the trigger pulled. A deafening crack reverberated the bullet, slamming into the wall. They wrestled violently, fists flying. Bradley was stronger than he looked, fueled by frantic rage. He slammed James's head against the floor, pain exploding behind James's eyes. But James mustered every ounce of strength, recalling the face of the woman he loved. He twisted free, knocking the gun from Bradley's hand. At that moment, Marcus rushed in, weapon drawn. "Freeze," he barked, and with some difficulty, he subdued Bradley. Handcuffs clinked around the freedman exec's wrists. James panted on the ground, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. Elena knelt beside him, tears streaming. "Are you all right?" she whispered, voice trembling. He winced, nodding through the haze of pain. "Yeah, I'm alive." She helped him to his feet, holding him tightly. Marcus quickly checked the scene, radioing for backup and an ambulance. Bradley glowered, captured, but defiant. "You think this ends with me?" Bradley spat, as Marcus hauled him away. "Friedman is everywhere. You'll never be safe." James steadied Eleanor, pressing a hand to the wound on his forehead. "We'll see about that," he muttered, voice grim. Relief coursed through Elena as she helped James out into the daylight, sirens wailing in the distance. Marcus's allies had rounded up the thugs who hadn't fled. The evidence James collected would be enough to start a major investigation into Friedman Corporation's crimes. It would be a long battle, but they had taken a crucial first step. Eleanor slipped her arm around James, supporting him. He looked at her with gratitude and sorrow, the weight of their lost years hanging between them. But in that moment, as the sun broke through the grey clouds, hope glimmered like a promise on the horizon. They had found each other again. And this time, they would face whatever came together. Sometimes the most shattering moments in our lives lead us to unexpected truths, forcing us to confront pain and find resilience we never knew we possessed. Elena's world was turned upside down when she discovered her husband, presumed dead for 7 years, was alive, living under a new name, and caught in a dangerous web of corruption. Together, they risked everything to expose powerful criminals, determined never again to live in the shadows of lies and half-truths. In the end, their journey became a testament to the power of love, redemption, and unwavering courage. Though scars remain both visible and hidden, Elena and James have a chance at rebuilding a life stolen by secrets. They stand at the threshold of a new beginning, proof that even after the darkest nights, hope can rise at dawn. Thank you for watching this incredible story. Please hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to our channel for more dramatic, real-life inspired tales. Your support helps us bring more stories of resilience, love, and triumph to life. See you next time.